Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar on facial recognition. We're just going to give it another 30 seconds to a minute just to allow any people to join who may be just running it slightly late. And I'll be back with you very shortly. Okay, so once again, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to anyone who's just joined us in the last minute or so. Today, we're doing a webinar on facial recognition and how this technology can help within schools and with your cashless catering meal service. A little bit of housekeeping before we do get into the main detail of the webinar today. Our microphones have been automatically muted, so there isn't the ability for any questions to be verbally asked over, and no one has to mute their own microphones to cancel out any background noise. If anyone does have any questions today, please input them into the chat box. And what we look to do at the end of today's webinar, my colleague Lauren, who is also on the webinar with me, will monitor the questions and we'll cover a few of those questions at the end. Once the webinar has been concluded, a recording of today will be sent out to you, so you're able to re-watch or check various bits of information that we've discussed in today's webinar. So starting with myself, so my name's Gareth Hunter. I'm Corporate Account Manager for CRB Cunninghams. I've worked in the cashless catering and point of sale industry now for over 25 years and have helped many schools, multi-academy trusts, local authorities and caterers with their challenges, cashless challenges within the school meal service. All my contact details are visible now on screen. So if anyone would like to get in touch with me following today's webinar, all of my details were there and I'll be happy to help answer any questions regarding today's webinar. For those of you on the webinar today who are maybe not familiar with CRB Cunninghams, just a little bit about ourselves. So we currently supply solutions UK-wide to over 3,000 schools. And within those 3,000 schools, there's multiple types of solutions that we do supply, including our cashless catering system, our online payment engine iPay Impact, and also our ID Store ID management solution. To cover those 3,000 schools, we do have an employee total of well over 100 employees now, and those employees are spread across various departments within the business, such as sales, implementations, service, support, and system builds. One of the things we specialize in for our customers is allowing single solutions across multiple sites or schools, and we provide many different types of centralized solutions for multi-academy trusts, local authorities, and caterers. So if you are part of a trust today or from a catering company or a local authority, if you're looking for a solution that can grow with your estate or give you ease of access, that's something that CRB Cunningham provides to many of our customers already. In terms of today's webinar, the little agenda on what we're going to cover today for you. So we're going to talk about contactless payments in general, and especially how those contactless payments have been impacted by the pandemic. We're also going to talk about the benefit of using the new technologies in UK schools, and which of course, the main item for today's agenda, which is the facial recognition. We'll also cover as well how that fits into part of a jigsaw puzzle in terms of how we can provide multiple solutions to support facial recognition or any other solutions that we do provide our customers. And of course, as already mentioned earlier on, we'll answer a few questions at the end of the webinar. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic that we're seeing since early in 2020, there's been a big change in the trend of contactless solutions across life in general, not just within schools, but within how we all as adults pay for items, whether that be online, in the store. And there's been a huge increase in the amount of contactless payments that are taking place across the United Kingdom. Since the start of the pandemic, there's been a change of where at the start of the pandemic, it was 40% of all card transactions were contactless. We're now at a stage where that's reached almost 90% of all card transactions. So contactless payment is becoming more and more a part of our everyday lives, and something that is now spreading into the school environment and the school meal environment as well. We're also seeing another reason for that increase is because of the allowance in increased spending via contactless. So just recently, the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, have confirmed that there will be a further increase to the single contactless payment method from £45 up to £100. Of course, at the start of the pandemic, that was only a maximum of £30. And part of that process of allowing larger and larger payments to be made contactless is based around the confidence and the security around contactless technology, which means the FCA are happy for those changes to take place. But what we're here to talk about mainly is how contactless affects in schools. And again, something that was brought on by the pandemic that started in 2020 is many schools who were using biometric solutions were looking for a contactless solution to enable them to ensure there wasn't constant points of contact. They were able to keep pupils in bubbles. They weren't having to continually clean devices because they were being touched with every transaction. And the trend that we saw across all of our customers is there was many customers who actually took what we would consider a step backwards from a secure, fast method such as biometric fingerprints to contactless cards. And since the start of the pandemic, we've actually provided over 250,000 contactless cards to our customers, which supported our customers in being able to reopen dining halls and keep a safe and secure contactless service. What CRB Cunninghams have also been doing to support schools throughout the pandemic is with other technology to work alongside this as well. And many of you may have already had demonstrations or seen information around our Fusion Online app. And for any new customers on there, this is something that we've supplied to enable a contactless pre-order service, where a child can download the app onto their mobile device and place orders for food within the meal service, just as you would do using an app such as Just Eat or Uber Eats or something very similar to that. The app's made such a big impact across the education sector that we did actually win an award for innovation with the app, which we won at the end of 2020, and highlighted the fact that the technology that CRB Cunninghams are continuing to invest in and continuing to provide our customers, making a difference out there. So with that story around the contactless cards and the app technology that's available, what is the next big thing in schools? And of course, what we're here to talk about today is our facial recognition technology, which is an additional method of ID that we can introduce into our Fusion cashless system, allowing our customers to get that great balance between a contactless service, but also keeping the security that a biometric fingerprint brings. And the comparison to a biometric fingerprint doesn't stop there, because in terms of how the solution manages the facial recognition template compared to a biometric registration is very much the same. It scans the face rather than scanning the finger. It creates an algorithm based on the template that it creates, and it secures it solely. What we also see across the market, and I suppose this is a big change to when biometrics was introduced into cashless, is that actually facial recognition is widely used across society today. The majority of facial recognition use is on our own personal devices. The majority of people now do have a smartphone, and we've got some examples of the models of the two major brands of smartphone and tablet providers that already use facial recognition technology, and we use it to gain access to these devices. We use it to gain access to our bank account, to verify access to various apps on there. So whereas biometrics was very much first introduced into education and wasn't really used elsewhere at the time of that being introduced, facial recognition is widely used and an accepted method of ID out in the marketplace today. Within the school arena and the school meal arena, there's various benefits for introducing facial recognition. As we've already touched on, it ticks the box around having a contactless method of. We don't have to touch a biometric reader. We don't have to touch a card. We don't have to touch a PIN pad. It's a completely contactless and clean way of operating a cashless catering system. What may surprise you is it's actually faster than biometric fingerprints. And we'll see in a little demonstration of that working further on in the webinar, how that can improve speed, improve efficiency, and increase revenue. There's no reliance on the pupils using the technology correctly. I'm sure in many dining halls across the whole of the UK, the phrase, put your finger on straight, keep it still, make sure you've got your card out ready, is a regular sentence that's spoken in all of these dining halls. With facial recognition, none of that reliance is there on the pupil. And facial recognition has been built within our Fusion cashless catering system. It's not a third-party piece of software. It's not something that you have to have communications between facial recognition and the Fusion system. It's all built in, which means management of the system and who has access to be able to do various things with the facial recognition software is all handled within the one central package. You don't need to take my word for it. Just ask our customers. And there's a quotation that we have from one of our schools that we first rolled the solution out as a trial, where Maxine at Kings Meadows School highlighted to us how much faster it was than the biometric fingerprints that they were already using on site. We do have a full case study of the trial at Kings Meadows School, which we first put in last year, and that's available on our website, for which we'll be able to provide a link for if anyone does request it. So how exactly does the facial recognition software work? I think I can talk about my own experiences when I first thought or first heard around facial recognition technology being introduced into our system. And I think there's lots of questions that just automatically come in to people's mind. Is it fast? Is it safe? Is it secure? Do we have to put crosses on the floor of where pupils have to stand? What happens if another pupil is in the background shot and pulling faces or waving around? What kind of effect? How will that work in a meal service? Well, I'm glad to see that all of my own questions and all questions that we've had from our customers so far, or all concerns, have been completely relaxed once they get to see and understand how the solution works. When it comes to the capture of the device, capture of the pupil at the point of sale, it is down to the till operator themselves to select on the screen who the pupil is that we want to identify. It's not a live facial recognition, which is what you see in articles that refer to CCTV cameras or within store or airports. This is a manually triggered facial recognition solution, which puts the control at the point of sale user. Once that has been recognized, what happens is our solution in the background then looks at the image the image of the pupil that we're looking to identify, and it compares that with a number of images in the background. I'm going to go through that in a bit more detail in the next couple of slides. Once that process has took place, though, however, it will then access the pupil's account the same way as it does with any other method of ID that you may already use or that we supply as a whole across our cashless catering system. And this is an example of a screen, the user screen within Fusion itself, which gives me the opportunity to kind of explain in a little bit more detail around how the whole facial recognition side works. So the account that we have on screen currently is for James Lynch. And we can see on screen that James has a photo already assigned to his account, which is the photograph that will have been extracted from whichever MIS system is in use within that particular school. What facial recognition then does is, once consent has been approved within Fusion, so we know that the parent has accepted that we're going to do a facial recognition method of ID on the cashless system, Fusion scans that MIS photo and creates template number 1. So for many customers, they are then able to then start to be identified through the point of sale terminals as soon as that approval has been received. What we also then have the ability to do is to add a face template. And I want this to be thought about as template number 2. What we're trying to achieve by taking multiple templates is improving the score associated with the registration. So this would be a registration that I take directly into the system using the web camera, and that will record another template against James's account, which will improve that score and improve the accuracy and speed of identification. But there's then a third template as well, and that third template is taken at the point of sale the very first time the pupil was to make a purchase once facial recognition is introduced. The idea of the third template is that this will be updated every 3 months. And the reason that it does that is so that as a child's appearance changes as they're growing, whether that be a change in hairstyles, whether they're wearing, they begin wearing glasses or other accessories, the algorithm grows with the child. So in effect, what that means is, once we have that child set up on the system, there should never, ever be a reason to have to re-register that child again with their facial recognition template. So again, questions that I've had from many customers in the past around, do we have to update the photographs on it every 2 years? Do we have to do it every year? What happens if we don't have an MIS photo for that particular child? How does that work? The system will manage that for you by constantly evolving the algorithm to match the child's growth and change in appearance. If consent has not been received and the flag to set the permission to approved has not been made, Fusion does not scan the MIS photo at all, and no further templates are able to be taken or recorded without that consent being flagged as approved. I've now got some examples of the facial recognition working in an in front of you currently is our point of sale software. And those of you who already use Fusion will recognize this screen currently using biometrics or cards. The new part, of course, being the camera image that we can see on screen currently. So what in effect happens is, as a child approaches the point of sale terminal, as mentioned, it is down to the till operator to select the face of the child who they're looking to identify. Facial recognition. We're also now going to see an example where the child is standing a little bit further away. So if we just have a look at this, we can see the child standing quite a far way back there. We're still able to recognize that child very quickly and very accurately. Note how quickly it went into the account as well. And this is all of these reasons is why we're finding that in terms of the improvement of speed over biometrics, we're finding on average an extra transaction per minute as possible using facial recognition. Now, of course, we're not going to know exactly what school's service is going to look like in September and beyond. I know obviously masks aren't now compulsory within schools, but I'm also aware that many schools still are asking pupils to wear masks in certain areas at certain times. And we've also got an example here of facial recognition actually working and identifying a pupil with a face mask in place. So hopefully what you've seen through that demonstration is the ease, the accuracy, the cleverness of the solution, but also hopefully that's given you a bit of peace of mind around introducing this type of technology into your organization. And there's lots of GDPR and security elements that are very similar, if not identical, to biometrics, which hopefully again just relays any fears around the facial recognition technology. We've already covered around the opt-ins with Fusion, and that it will not allow, or the system will not use facial recognition against any photos unless that consent has been received. We've already covered the fact that it is down to the till operator, which is very important. The till operator is saying, I want to recognize that particular person, rather than it being an automatic scan. We know, and to reiterate again, we can use the photos you already have in the MIS systems as a starting point and as a platform to launch facial recognition. And of course, with like any of the solutions we provide, the solution is always stored in a secure area, in 99% of occasions on a school provided server, or it can be stored securely in the Azure framework on the cloud. And the data encryption around the templates that we record, again, is the same as biometrics. It's fully encrypted. We're not able to rebuild an image based on the encryption that we're storing, and it's completely safe and secure to use. Facial recognition, of course, is just one part of many different solutions that we provide our customers. And we're able to bring a range of contactless solutions to work alongside facial recognition and to provide contactless solutions into other areas within school. Some of those solutions that we already provide and is available to customers right at this moment is our IP Impact online payment engine. IP Impact allows parents to top up their child's account, view meal choices and purchases that their children make within school, but also allows payment into other areas which schools may wish to accept. So covering trips, covering school shop, covering uniform, whatever type of payment that a school wishes to accept from a parent, IP Impact can handle and assist with all of that. For the primary school sector, it also includes primary school pre-ordering. So IP Impact does allow parents to place orders for school food for their children online, completely contactless and safe. It removes the need for classroom smartboard ordering. We also have, of course, as already discussed earlier, our Fusion Online system, which is a pre-order application which can be downloaded onto a mobile or tablet device, or even accessed via a URL online. And that allows pupils and parents in certain circumstances to place food orders for their children for particular times of day. And we also have our ID Store identity management system. An ID Store allows, including contactless technology such as cards, allows integration into other solutions used within school, whether that's library systems, whether that's print solutions, door access systems. So we can help spread that contactless method of ID right around school and provide a much more secure and streamlined ID service. And we have multiple methods of ID. So we've talked about the majority of these, but like facial recognition, the next icon indicates biometrics as a method of ID that we do provide. We also provide PIN numbers as an opt-out method of ID when that is still required. Cards, and of course QR codes is another method of ID, not used in great amounts, but available to use within schools. And the idea behind the QR codes is that QR code can be shown on a phone, or a sticker can be stuck on any other type of device. So that brings us nearly to the end of our webinar today. And I'm just going to jump across to Lauren and ask Lauren, have we had many questions through?
Certainly, thanks, Gareth. We've actually had quite a lot of questions come through, so I will just read a couple out to you if that's okay. The first one being, how does facial recognition work for identical twins?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. That is a very good question, and that's something that we identified very early in our test site at Kingsmeadow, and how the solution handles twins. Of course, if it's identical twins, then there is of course the case where it may not identify the right one correctly automatically. So how Fusion handles that is in a case where the facial recognition determines that it could be either pupil A or pupil B, based on the fact that they're both identical twins, it will give a prompt to the till operator to just doubly confirm exactly which one of the identical twins it is that's approached the point of sale.
That's great, thanks, Gareth. I've got another one here for you as well. Can facial recognition run alongside other recognition methods such as fingerprint biometrics?
Yes, it can. It can. So the way facial recognition needs to be thought of as another method of ID available to schools to introduce. Currently with Fusion, depending on the customer and the customer's own wishes or requirements, different mix and matches of IDs are in place across different systems across all of our customers. So we have some customers who just use biometrics and PIN. We have some who use bio card and PIN. We have some that just use card and PIN. And facial recognition just adds to that. So technically our customers could have one cashless system which has facial recognition, biometric fingerprint, card, PIN, and any other available method of ID now or in the future. Okay, so what we will do is we'll obviously check any other questions that do come in. Lauren did mention this quite a lot, so I'd just like to thank everybody for that. And we will respond to everyone's questions following this webinar. So if we haven't answered your question today, apologies for that, but we will get back to you on there. And I would just like to thank everyone for their attendance today, whether you're watching this live and being able to join us, or whether you're watching a recording of the webinar at a later date. Please get in touch if there's any further information you would like about facial recognition or any of our solutions or technologies, and we'll be happy to provide any assistance that we can.